It started because I was struggling with things myself. And so I'm an artist, a singer, I do a lot of music and all of those things. And so I think that it was just an easy combination of, when I didn't have a person to talk to, I could always write. When I didn't have, a friend that I may have been comfortable sharing some things that felt really intimate or vulnerable, I could always write. And there was something about the writing and getting things out that felt powerful. And even if I read them to myself or spoke things to myself, I think it kind of gave me enough that I was eventually strong enough to speak them to other people or feel comfortable, right? And so it was just kind of me and my notebook for a long time. So I think that was kind of like the inspiration to know that if I can get to that space through writing and through art, then I'm sure that there are other people who have that same experience. Self-expression is a crucial part of the mental health journey because I think, like we talked about, there's power in storytelling. There's power in being authentically yourself, because it's really difficult to journey this life and try to be somebody else. And then we talked a little bit about it in the room, like how we look at other people on social media, and like sometimes we try to be that person, but you are really dope you. And I think that once we can identify what that means to authentically be ourselves, that is the part that helps us to, be comfortable in who we are and, really add and align with the mental health journey, for sure. That's good. Struggling with vulnerability sometimes means that, being vulnerable to other people. But I think the first person you have to be vulnerable with is you. And I think that once you can conquer self-vulnerability, that could be just like I did, like writing. Sometimes you just scribble. Just get a pen and paper and just go to town, right? And that's just like releasing something inside you that you just need to get out. But also calling it out. Like we talked a little bit about the power of expressing and calling out things that you may have been afraid to call out for yourself. And I think that if students, even if they're in the mirror, looking at yourself, calling it out, then that could be just a small step to help in their journeys. Yeah.
You just answered.
Yeah, it's like, but not even like just things as simple as breathing. There are these really cool tools. Getting a journal is really good, just journaling oneself. But there's these really cool things like affirmation cards, and just pulling one and just speaking it to yourself. Could be a small thing that you could do. Like if I don't have the words, right? Like sometimes trauma happens and we don't have the words to express that. But if I don't have the words, like what are other tools? So just pulling the affirmation every day and just reading it to yourself until you build up the words for yourself is also a small thing that students can do to help themselves. That one of the things that we talked about today is like not believing in safe spaces, but believing in safe people. And one of the cool things that always happens is that when people share and express with each other in rooms and space with one another, they often find that they are more alike than different. And so I think that when we talk about inclusivity, it's like sometimes it's like that word, it creates this response where people are not sure. But what that looks like is that like sometimes some of our journeys are the same. And if we just communicate and talk to each other, we recognize that we are so much more alike than we are. And that's a part of helping us. So yeah, the key takeaway, I left it on my last slide, is that liberation is their birthright. And so we have a right to be free in all things, in all the things that we are. And I know that we're getting a lot of messages that are telling us that we don't, and that we need to be confined and be quiet or not show up as our full authentic selves. But it is your birthright to liberation and freedom. And so I think that's what I want them to take away. I think that it goes back to that you deserve to be free. And self-expression can look like a lot of things. However they feel safe in that. That doesn't mean that they're yelling it out on the rooftop. It doesn't mean that they're expressing it to people. But being honest with oneself, I think that like self-expression can mean a lot of things, and they have the right and the liberty to tap into what that means for them. To know that that we care for them, and that they are necessary and they are needed. And I know that sometimes young folks get a hard rap because a generation or two before don't quite understand the way in which y'all show up. And I want y'all to know that that's okay. You know, however you show up is how you show up. And, you know, we should applaud you because there's a generation coming after you that needs you. And so you're valued.